Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings tab for late night weekend viewers.
hey everybody, welcome to the Wednesday show. It's Rob Nelson Live. I know I'm looking a little beigey behind me today, right? I know, right? I don't know. I'm working out. I think I'm going to go with the blue, or maybe I do orange. This is a little orangey, and the orangey has a purpose today. So you got the blue pill, you got the red pill. I learned today about the black pill. A show I was doing, influencer named Black Rant came on, and he's black. He is black, but the black rant isn't because he's black. It's because the black pill, and the black pill is the sort of pessimistic, things aren't going to come out so well. There's a lot of black pilling going on. I didn't know. I'm going to start using the black pill. I wear the black shirt. I'm not necessarily a black pill person, to be honest. You got the red pill, you got the blue pill, you got the orange pill. And the orange pill is why I'm a little orange today. The orange pill is obviously the Bitcoin pill. And boy, Bitcoin had a day, 6% up today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the crypto markets. We're going to talk about the trad markets. And we're going to weave a little politics into it. Because there's all kinds of reasons. Well, there's reasons to be optimistic always and pessimistic. I heard a line once, some people look at the glass half full, some half empty. And then I heard someone say, someone looks at the glass half full, but it's half full of piss. Like, meaning, but still it's a half glass full. If you're going to have a full or a half glass, or an empty glass, how do you look at it? There's a lot that could make people feel like things are not moving in a great direction. And then you could choose to take the other perspective, which is, well, things are moving in a good direction, or you could just go, things are moving and they are what they are, and you make the best of it. Let's dive in sort of to that premise. So let's start with Bitcoin, and then we'll move to politics. And we're going to weave a little culture in. I believe culture leads politics. I don't believe it's the other way around. I've always felt the politics always follows culture, at least in modern times. I'm trying to think back, did politics shift or create culture? Sure, politics can have an impact on culture, but especially in a modern era with technology, the way we have it, information technology, the way it is, I would argue that culture has a massive impact on politics. And you see that, obviously, I'm going to call it the Trump era, which starts at 2015 and goes to now. It's been over a decade. Even when he wasn't in office, it was still the Trump era. That guy had more press than Biden ever got when he was out of office. I mean, he's been the forefront of national and international news for 12 years. It's kind of remarkable. Every day for 12 years. He never really left, not even for like a week. I mean, Biden was president for 4 years. When's the last time you heard about Joe Biden? I mean, every so often there'll be a story, right? In a mainstream news outlet, left or right, once in a while. Biden's cancer's gone to his bones, metastasized. It's terrible. Equally terrible is that they had to know he had cancer when he was running. I'm wondering if part of the reason he agreed to step away wasn't just the pressure he was getting from his, the Nancy Pelosi's and so forth, was that they knew he had cancer, and they were like, or he knew, and Jill Biden knew, and Hunter Biden knew. I mean, the family knew, maybe some top advisors, or they could claim they didn't know. They just suddenly found it, shocking, because you're going to be the most medically observed person on the planet, basically, just about. I see, if it's me, you could say, well, I never go to the doctor. Biden had to have a doctor around him 24/7, especially with all the aging and the mental stuff. They were keeping an eye on everything. But either way, You'll hear a story about that or about his memoir that's coming out, which nobody can even tell you the name of it. And no one's going to read it. But basically it just disappeared. The minute he stopped running for office and Kamala swept in, the Wicked Witch of the West, literally, because she is from Cali, that minute is when Biden stopped being relevant. Trump left office and was more relevant the day he left than the day before he left, and was relevant every day after. He defined, and Trump was a cultural force to redefine politics. And I'd argue that culture in general defines the kind of politics we live in. So if you look at, say, in the left, you look at all those things, all the woke stuff is culture driven. Black Lives Matter was culture. Transgender is culture. Me Too is culture. Male gaze stuff is culture. Fat shaming is culture. Ozempic is culture. Sure, they overlap in the medicine, lifestyle, it's culture. And then obviously the massive cultural divide between conservatives and liberals, all culture. Even the way we speak. I remember in 2015, 2016, 2017 even, Trump would use Twitter, and he used it in a way no one ever used it who was a political figure. And he's spoken into it as the way regular people would, broadcasting his thoughts, his opinions, his whatever. And again, in that way he spoke, which sounds like he's like 10 years old, like he's a fictional version of himself. And I remember saying to a class I was teaching in LA, that this was a remarkable change. It was a media class. It was like, this is a remarkable change that's going to sweep over. And people, remember at the time, people were so critical. Remember the media? This is just so below the president. That's the thing with Trump. Everything's always below. So the mainstream media on the left, everything Trump does is below the standards of a president. It's not what we expect from a standard of a president. What the fuck do you expect from the standard of a president these days? What defines that standard, by the way? What makes you presidential? And how much is it what you expect to see publicly versus privately? I prefer to put it all on the table, to be honest. Kennedy behaved the way a president should behave in public. He was a total skunk in private. He was having sex like every day with someone different. The White House pool was a giant Playboy party. He was doing drugs. I mean, literally, they shot him up with drugs every day for his back. I don't know what other drugs he was doing, but it was the Rat Pack and Party Central and hookers and girls and people in and people out and people being killed and probably Marilyn Monroe and who knows what they all did. I'm saying, but it looked good. Lyndon Johnson played the role of the presidency very nicely, very much. He had a little Southern drawl, he had a little rough around the edges, but totally whatever. What a scumbag. I mean, people think Donald Trump's corrupt. I don't think you're ever going to find a president up to this day who was more corrupt than Lyndon Johnson. I mean, that guy was as corrupt as you get. Literally. I mean, he stole the Senate election to start with, which got him in the Senate, which he then became the leader of the Senate, was a master at it, which then allowed him to become president. I think he was behind the Kennedy assassination, to be honest. I know it's a theory. It's not a crazy theory. Certainly was in a hurry to get sworn in on the plane. Bobby Kennedy was like, Bobby Kennedy Sr., can you just wait? Can you wait till my brother's body's on the plane, for God's sake? And Johnson's like, sign me in. Him and Kamala, they'd have made a good pair. Well, he would have literally had no room for Kamala. Plus, she was black and he was a racist, but that's another story. But did pass civil rights, but not because he wasn't a racist. Politics. Like I've said before, only non-corrupt president was Jimmy Carter. And he had tons of corruption around him because everyone took advantage of it. And that guy was so not corrupt that he did an interview in Playboy, which was a big deal. But in the interview, he talks about how he sinned because he's thought of other women in his 40-year marriage at the time, or however, 30, whatever it had been at the time. He and Rosalind Carter were married for like 100 years. I'm just saying. So what's the standard of a president? What's a behavioral standard? The way you treat people behind the scenes? Johnson was a monster, was an absolute monster. I don't know, Reagan, maybe. He was known to be the same guy in front as behind, kind of even-tempered. But I would simply say Trump started to shift, and people would always criticize him. That was a long sidebar. People would always criticize him for being not being it's what presidential, and Twitter was not the place a president speaks. It's not how presidents communicate. You have your press secretary, your press team issue a statement, all nice and formal. That's culture. That's how people were communicating. Trump captured that. And truly, Obama started a little using socials and that model to win voters. Trump embodied it. Trump lived in socials. And now every single world leader, every business leader uses socials. I mean, maybe Kim Jong-un in Korea doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if he's on Twitter or X now. But I mean, they all use socials. They all communicate that way. It doesn't matter what country they're from. They can be liberal countries, conservative. They all use Twitter. Iran's using Twitter, X, whatever. They're using social platforms to pump out their message, to attack one another. And that's the other thing. Now you just go right at them like it's like a backyard scrum, you know? It's like high school kids, you know, writing nasty things about each other, you know? Gavin Newsom goes after Trump and disses him and, you know, shades him, and Trump goes after everybody, and the other world leaders go after Trump and go after each other, and then they make pronounced big statements about what they're going to do, all on social media. That's culture drove politics. And same with language. You notice how all the politicians swear now? Trump's like, we're going to blow the shit out of them. Every politician saying fuck, shit. It's funny, you still can't say it. You can't put it on Instagram. You can't blast it on Instagram. You have to delete, beep it usually, and you got to cover it up. But man, every world leader's out there saying it. It's the new now. I like it. It's the real. It's the real. It never was. They were all swearing behind the scenes. Don't listen to a tape of Nixon about those Nixon, the White House tapes. He was fuck this, fuck them. Like, but never in public. I like that it's just bring it out in public, be transparent. Which leads me, I know my sidebars side, and then they bar inside, but they all come back. Transparency, which leads me to Bitcoin, and thus the Orange Bill. Digital currencies, Bitcoin, crypto, not only is it the future, it's the only transparent, fully accountable form of transactions of any kind. Bitcoin ledgers are immutable, which means they can't be altered. They can't be changed, at least not by humans. It is possible that AI in 5-10 years will figure out how to crack even the Bitcoin chain. That's something that scares me. Because the amount of compute power it would take to crack Bitcoin's chain. But just so you understand, if you're not a blockchain person, everything's on a digital ledger. It can't be altered. It can't be changed. It can't be. It's reinforced in multiple places. It gets a. Yeah, I'm doing a bad job of making this sound layperson, but essentially, nodes are reinforcing to verify everything. So when people say it's trustless, it means it can be completely trusted. It's no human intervention can mess with it. Doesn't mean humans can't take crypto and do shit with it. You know, that's what people are like, well, crypto's used to fund bad shit. Yes, and so is traditional banking money. And so are traditional banks. But whatever. So you've got a fully transparent currency, multiple currencies. It's not just the currencies. The blockchains themselves are fully transparent, which is why you could vote on the blockchain. You could have digital voting, which I know for a lot of conservatives and the Trumpers is like, no, everyone has to go in and punch a ticket. No, they don't. You don't have to go in a booth. You could have absolutely fully verifiable voting digitally on a blockchain. You could verify who people are. You could verify their votes. No one could alter it. There could be no vote. There could be no vote stealing, no cheating. Technically, you could set it up so there could be no people voting who shouldn't be able to vote. They're just scared of it. Everyone's scared of this technology, but it's coming. It's here. It's happening. It's happening way faster than most people expected. It's happening. I mean, you think iPhones and stuff like that changed fast. You think the technology in phones went fast. The technology, and even in computers, compared to like 25 years ago, the speed, 30 years ago, the speed at which computers, you know, the technology expands and grows. AI is just off the charts. Whatever AI version you're using of Claude or Gemini or Chat or whatever, you know, OpenAI, Anthropic, these guys, they are testing stuff light years ahead of what we're using already. And it's going to start coming out. the life cycle of AI technology is going to be like this. The life cycle of phones and let's just call it the computer technology was pretty short compared to most tech cycles over history. The life cycle at which the new version would come in, and eventually the old version would be obsolete, not even usable. This programming wouldn't be able to. Your phone's too old; it can't update because the updates don't. It can't hold them. It can't manage them. It can't compute them. Speed of AI is off the charts. Whatever you're using today, next year, it will be. I'm just throwing it out there. It'll be 4 times. It's a number I made up. There's people I could ask, but it'll be multiple generations ahead. And I say this because as AI moves forward, and it is moving forward, and we are technically the point of no return would be a couple years, but we're already at the point of no return for all intents and purposes. We will very soon have AI in every single, it will be running, managing, it will be embedded in every single thing. I don't mean in terms of taking your job away. That's a whole nother issue. I mean, it will run systems. It will be integrated into all operating systems in the world. It will be wound into every, from the stock exchanges to gas and electric companies, to grocery stores, to data systems, to the Federal Reserve. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at a wall here. I'm not good at the trivia part where I have to come up with a list of 20 things. But just imagine every single system that right now uses information having an AI component built in. It will be interwoven in everything. And I would say that everything is in 3 to 4 years, max. It's integrated into everything, every system. And at that point, it's you can't unwind it. At that point, I think you can turn it off. I mean, technically, you could try to unpower it. It'd be everywhere. And the only way you could really unpower AI after that is like a giant EMP that just goes boom and shuts all the power down. But that would wipe out, half the human civilization as well. Billions of people would die in a global EMP that just shut all power systems off. All power, not like electricity, but I'm talking like every single power system just goes boom. Everything stops. That would shut AI down. But short of that, it's going to be integrated into everything. And why that's a big deal is 2 things. One, because AI will work with AIs, and that's already happening. I'm doing that. Talk to Me Taylor's doing that. I mean, a lot of people are going to start doing it, but it's early. But that early means in a year or 2 from now, it won't be so early. But everybody's going to start using AI, not just the LLMs, not just the what I call the Google on steroids, your Gemini, your Claude, your ChatGPT, the agentic side, where AI start doing things for you, where they interact with other agentic AIs and do things. It's not science fiction. It's happening. It's happening now. One AI does something with another AI, and they make a deal. They could for something else. Eventually, they'll be making their own deals. People are going to own AI systems and AI agents that they're going to have doing stuff, and those will be making money. They'll be like, it's going to be weird because it's going to be their property. It's a whole nother story if AI decides to make it its own inherent intellectual property. But that said, these things are vehicles of commerce, and they will literally, in data form, they will transact and exchange goods and services data-wise and charge for it. And they will pay one another, and they will pay one another in crypto. A guy I know said the other day, crypto's purpose was to allow artificial intelligence to pay artificial intelligence. Now, I don't know if that's a provable thesis, but it certainly was a main utility factor early on that crypto could do. And one of the arguments you could make is that it was literally possibly was designed, and it depends who you think really launched crypto. And it's worth looking at Neil Stephenson's Cryptonomicon, which is where the word crypto actually came from. But I'd argue military and defense and intelligence planners probably in China here, we're thinking about this way back, which is thus the argument that the U.S. government, is that Satoshi, is it the CIA or whatever? But they knew that this where AI could go, and they knew that would need a way to transact, and crypto was a way to do that. Now we've used it for all kinds of other things, but my point is, crypto. Those who say I'm anti-crypto, well, good for you. It's like being I'm anti-electricity. Great, go get yourself a horse and a wagon and go Amishville. You know, go hard in on the Amish and cut the lights, guys. You can be Elizabeth Warren, God bless you. You're anti-crypto? Well, good luck in 5 years when AIs are using crypto to pay AIs, and those AIs are working on your behalf and everyone's behalf, and they have literally seeped into the entire global economy. People think this is about, oh, we're going to lose jobs. Hollywood's mad because we're going to lose creativity, and we're artists. I'm gonna make my Oscar speech about saving the Palestinians and ending AI. Whatever. Seriously, just go, as Justin Bieber would say, go love yourself. But the reality is, crypto will be funneling that, and blockchain will be carrying it, and that's what crypto's built on. All that jazz. Bob Fosse play. Musical, I don't know, I'm old. Everybody knows all that jazz, and all that jazz. Maybe that'll be my tagline at the end. I'll do that, and all that jazz. So back to Bitcoin. Transparent digital currency. Store of value for most people in the US. People take it, they hold it, it's an asset, and it's a unique asset. Only asset in the world that's finite, right? Most assets are like limited. The more limited, the more valuable, right? You know, precious metals that are limited are worth a lot of money. The stuff that goes into the chips, the silicon chips, worth a lot of money. Gold, limited, worth a lot of money. Currencies printed at like crazy, not worth a lot of money. Thus, when a government's in trouble and they just start printing currency, that currency, suddenly you need a million of whatever to buy a loaf of bread, right? Bitcoin is finite. There is a limited amount of Bitcoin, which I think is going to be like 2034 or something. There's a date. I should know it. 2034. I don't know. Someone correct me. Where Bitcoin, all the Bitcoin there is to be mined can be mined. It's a cutoff. You can't mine any more Bitcoin after that. Then at that point, the full supply of Bitcoin has been mined. And then you're just trading a commodity that has a limited amount out there. So as its value goes up, you can't get more of it. You just got to parcel it, break it down, and make each little piece worth more and more and more. It's the only asset in the world that is like that is absolutely finite. It is a store of value, but its utility value is massive. Its utility value around AI, around technology, around blockchain systems, and as a currency, especially in high inflation countries. Yeah, it's the US, whatever. It's a minor baby currency for some people. It'll get more, and some people take payments in Bitcoin or whatever, but it will, and I think that will change and it'll be more common because it's the only currency. Like you could get, say you're an illegal immigrant in the US, and you want to send money back to your family in Mexico. Well, first you get the cash, then you got to go to Western Union, then you got to pay, and then you got to wait. You put it in Bitcoin, you just send it. They get it in 5 seconds. No charge, no cost. I mean, you're paying nothing. Bitcoin is not you can argue a lot of the crypto coins are definitely, it's a wild, wild west, and a lot of the what they call altcoins, some people call them shit coins, it's like playing a casino. There are some that have utility value. Those will start becoming more noticeable and present. But Bitcoin has utility value. It's a store of value. It's a major asset. It's held by most governments. Trump's proposing a Bitcoin reserve, but so is the state of Florida, so is the state of Texas, so are is the European Union, so are many countries, China, Russia, whatever. Major institutional investors are into Bitcoin. There's a Bitcoin ETF. You've got even finally, my bank, Morgan Stanley, finally came on board and now is allowing for financial advisors to start involving crypto in their portfolios of their clients. It's happening. and certainly with Bitcoin. And, and you can't fight it. Here to stay. Major companies are buying a small amount of Bitcoin in their portfolios. So not just other, they have portfolios just like a person, which makes up their wealth that they have as a company, their value. And they're adding, Strategy's got a massive amount, but a lot of companies are adding a couple percent. Family offices are starting to add it as a diversified asset. It's here to stay. Point is, it hits almost 70,000 today. And it was low. It was down. It's been down from its high of 120. In the last year, a lot of people bailed out, lost money. Should have just held on because it'll go back up. Now it's up to 70. Sort of reclaimed, not quite half yet. And it was a 6% rise today. And that's a lot. 6% jump. That's a big deal. And why? Well, one, big institutional players and big wallets holding Bitcoin can move the market fast. But a lot of stuff happened today. And, the Treasury Department, acting like the Fed, sort of, started buying back bonds are in the tank. Started buying back Treasury bonds at like a double buyback option. It's like 2 for 1, which just gave a jolt, a boom to the economy and the markets. Smart move by Secretary Bessent, by the way, to do that. The SEC passed very favorable regulations around crypto, which is a first, but it's the new SEC because Gary Gensler in the old SEC, although he privately played in it and even was part of Coinbase and the whole thing, forget that whole complicated story. They were on a mission to F with crypto. They wanted crypto to go love itself. But the new SEC offering the new, under Trump, this new chair, trying really hard, I think, to offer some favorable stuff. The Clarity Act is going to get voted on in a few weeks, probably. If that passes, that's going to create a lot of push up on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin had a big day, bounced up, way up, well, 6% up. It's going to go a little higher, I think. Then it's going to come back down. But I think I don't know how far it's going to come back down. It's a conversation I have with friends. But eventually, at the end of the year, after October, I think it starts on a climb. We're still in a bear market, but we're heading for a bull market. And that bull market's going to involve crypto. The other thing I will say about crypto, and particularly Bitcoin, is Bitcoin used to diverge from the market. What the mainstream markets did, Bitcoin acted as sort of a hedge against it. Not so much anymore, which makes sense. I'd argued this for a few years. As institutional players got into the space, Bitcoin was going to mimic more. So something bad happens in Iran, or we do a ground invasion, and the traditional markets go whoop. Bitcoin used to go up. Now Bitcoin is going to go whoop, right there with it. Doesn't mean it's not. It does operate differently in certain cases around certain things, but the convergence is much closer than it used to be. It's becoming a mainstream asset. Sorry, Elizabeth Warren. Get used to it. It's transparency, and transparency is what I think people want and need. You need it in the future economy we have. It's essential to an AI economy. Crypto is, and I think to bring this back to politics, and crypto is a political thing, and Bitcoin is a political asset. It shouldn't be a left-right asset. The orange pill is not really blue or red; it's orange. For some reason, the left, and Democrats in particular, for the most part, not all people on the left, but the mainstream Democrat Party, for the most part, is anti-crypto. Not sure, and Bitcoin. Not sure why. Maybe because the Republicans are pro. I don't know. Because Bitcoin was meant to be a destabilizer to the main political system, the main banking system, to the institutional approach of centralized government, centralized banks, centralized control. It was to give power to the people. Give individuals autonomy, give them control of their money, pull the central bank out of being able to control you. Because central banks control the money, they control you. As I've said before, if we get a central bank digital currency, they can literally turn you off. I can go away tomorrow and no one will know I existed. No one will be able to find me. Gone, no record, no trace. We're seeing, I wanted to get into some AI stuff, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save that. I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to go there. I'm going to just go there real quick. What we're going to see happen with AI, it makes sense because I'm tying this into politics. And right now we have let's go to the politics. I'll come back to the AI. Let's start with the AI, end with the AI. I might not talk about Iran either. I did say the word Iran. I just said it, but I haven't talked about it. Is okay. So in politics right now, so we just had primaries on Tuesday, yesterday, and a number of states for Congress and governorship. There's a couple big states up in the air here. Alaska, is now a state, I think, in play. Dan Sullivan's the senator. He's running for reelection, but Mary Peltola, who is a member of Congress, a Democrat, she advanced in the Democratic primary, and I think she's got a solid shot against him. Also, I haven't figured this out, but there's possibly going to be another Dan Sullivan on the ballot. I don't think it's a thing where the left is trying to put another Dan Sullivan on the ballot so people will be confused, see Dan Sullivan and vote for the wrong one. That's a clever trick. Something Lyndon Johnson would do. Florida, obviously a secure Republican state overall, but it's interesting on the Democratic side. I don't know. I'm looking to see what district it is. I don't know. I don't know what district it is. But Angie Nixon defeated Alex Vindeman. Alex Vindeman is the guy, member, who testified in the Trump impeachment about the call with Trump and Zelensky. Remember way back then, Trump was on the phone with Zelensky and then said, "You can't, you need to get to the bottom of this corruption, or we're not going to give you, we're going to hold up funding. So you got to get to the bottom of the Burisma stuff." And Joe Biden's involved in the scandal, and Hunter Biden, and so they impeached Trump. Well, it's interesting. Impeached him. It's like COVID. They impeached him for the facts. I mean, Trump was playing dirty politics. Sure, I want to get the dirt on Joe Biden. But the point is, the dirt was on Joe Biden. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Hunter Biden was really qualified to be on the board of an energy company called Burisma in Ukraine. Even Hunter Biden admitted he wasn't qualified. He admits it now. And no, Joe Biden never took a dime. No. Despite things he said, and despite that he was on phone calls and in the room sitting next to his son and whatever. None of that. No. How dare you? All mainstream, non-transparent lies. That said, Alex Vindeman was the guy that testified that he'd been he's on the national security staff, and he was in the room or on the phone or whatever. They didn't succeed at getting Trump out of office, but Alex Vindeman was the darling of the media. He ran and he raised 16 times the amount of money that Angie Nixon raised. Angie Nixon is, wait for it, yes, a Democratic socialist. We're seeing again and again these Democratic socialists who are winning with way less money, El Said, with way less money than the mainstream Democratic Party is putting in. This is the Democratic primaries. Republicans aren't part of this. They could be throwing money in, as Democrats could to a Republican side, but these are the Democrats fighting for it. The mainstream Democrats are pouring money in and losing in a lot of cases to the Democratic Socialists. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's not that most people are like, well, these ideas are crazy. They are. I mean, a lot of them are. I mean, AOC, who's now gearing up for presidency, is one, getting her eggs and making a great public show of it. Modern, woman, dump the fiance and doing it herself. But more importantly, she's laughing at what she calls woke one. We were crazy back then with that stuff. Crazy with those ideas. She's pissing off the progressives. Because they're like, what do you mean we're crazy? What are you saying we're crazy? We're not crazy. These are good things. The head of the DSA, the co-chair, whatever, saw her on CNN explaining these things. She does a good job trying to make it sound rational why you should get rid of the president, get rid of the Senate, make our parliamentary system, get rid of prisons ultimately, but you somehow find a way to lock up the worst of the worst, eliminate the police, free rent, everything. I get it. I get it, but I'm saying Van Jones, who's a lefty and is, I've watched him for years, and he goes more extreme on camera. I met him in person once at a thing in LA, and he given a speech, and he was so not kooky like he was on CNN. And I said, why are you so much more extreme on CNN? He's like, well, that's my audience. Everybody plays to an audience. And that's the thing, right? We pick on people for saying things like Trump did blank. Trump's playing to an audience. It's not stupid. Everyone plays to an audience. Bill Maher plays to an audience. You play to an audience. I play to an audience. So, you know, it's sidebar. I'm going to sidebar myself right out of it. The thing that people are drawn to about these DSA candidates is what they're offering is not really something only the left wants. They're offering what MAGA wants too. Not the defund the police stuff, not what AOC calls the crazy woke, but the core things. Affordable health care. My insurance doubled. I pay so much in insurance, it's insane for a single plan. I pay like $1,600 a month for a plan with a $7,000 deductible, meaning I got to spend $7,000 of my own money on top of $1,600 a month before I get $1 from them, except for like co-pays to go visit a doctor. So that's, you know, do the math. It's $27,000, $28,000 a year for health insurance. Jesus, that's a lot for one person. And it's not even the world's best plan. It's like a bronze plan. It's not gold. People can't afford their health insurance. It's double their rent in some cases. And they're struggling to pay their rent. So people are not going to have to choose between rent and healthcare. And they can't, food's expensive. Food's crazy expensive. Donald Trump says, oh, gas is a little more expensive. Gas in Nashville. Gas is like 30 to 40% up in most states from what it was like 10 months ago. That's not a little bit. That's a lot. If you were paying $3 a gallon for gas, now you're paying, you know, $4.50 or whatever. You're paying $2.79. Now you're paying $3.59. I mean, it's a lot. That's a big difference when you're putting it in your car every week. People feel it. Food, energy, costs of living. And they feel they got a government that's not transparent, not working for them. Both sides aren't working for them. The extremes aren't working for them. MAGA doesn't like what's happening. They want focus on people at home, focus here, focus on cost of living, focus on affordability, focus on the economy. Hate to say James Carville again. He's old and tired now, but he was right. It's the economy, stupid. And the people on the left want it. People in the middle want it. So the reason these candidates are winning, the Angie Nixon, I mean, Vindeman was a joke anyway, but he got a ton of money, 16 times what she had, you know, and Peltola, we'll see. Mary Peltola is going to be interesting. She's not as far left, but it's going to be it's going to be interesting. Wisconsin, I don't know Wisconsin, where I'm from. I don't know what kind of state Wisconsin is. It's purple, maybe, sort of, not. I don't know. But, the far left socialists didn't win the nomination there. But that's a fluke. And again, people focus on their crazy ideas, not on what they're appealing to. Mandami appealed to a bunch of Jews in New York. He's an anti-Semite with a wife who's literally like an anti-Semite on steroids. I mean, they hate the Jews. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest. And they voted for him because he promised them things people want. Republicans better wake up. But again, there's not much transparency in any of it. And the divide is so strong that the right looks at the DSA and simply pounces on a bunch of commies. There are a bunch of commies, a bunch of communists want to defund the police. Even your star mainstream progressive candidate, AOC, who, give her credit, she knows she's a Trump in that way. She's a Trumper in her own way. She knows how to get the spotlight. She knows how to keep the focus on her. She knows how to connect. Even she's smart enough to walk away from the crazy woke stuff. My Van Jones thing, I kind of lost the plot in that one. I'll weave back to it. He was on CNN and he basically said, my party, I don't want to be identified with a party that's for all these crazy things. Women in biological men and women's sports, defund the police, get rid of the presidency, get rid of the Senate. He's like, these nutty ideas. I'm not part of my party. And he's a progressive. It's not the point that some of these people have crazy extreme views. It's the point that there's a common thread around issues that matter to people: affordability, costs that being able to pay your rent, being able to live, being able to have health insurance, for God's sake. It's absurd that people can't get health insurance. I'm sorry. I'm not saying universal health care is the answer, but the fact that we are the richest country in the world and we can't figure out how to give Americans affordable health care is insane. People are being priced out of living and they want something else. That's all they're appealing to. But the Republicans are going to jump on it the same way the liberals are going to jump on the conservatives when they have good ideas. And to be honest, Trump has some good ideas and he's done some really good things. And he's made some really smart moves, especially around the economy. They're just going to jump all over him for it. You know, they're going to just attack him. And they are going to attack the Republicans for it too. We are divided. And where I'm coming back around to this and I'm closing it up, bringing back in the AI, is we are deeply divided. And we have been, and we've gotten way more divided. When I was doing my politics stuff in Gen X leader lead days in the mid 90s or in the early 2000s, we were divided. We still talked about this, but those divisions have worsened and gotten deeper, more entrenched. And social media and algorithms have obviously fed them. So people see what they want to see. They hear what they want to hear. And it's reinforced and reinforced and reinforced to the point where you can't convince someone, about something on the other side of the political aisle. They don't even want to hear the name. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see Trump anywhere if they walk in the house. That's why holidays have gotten complicated for some families, because they can't even have a conversation. You're on that side, you're bad, you're wrong. And there's no facts that will prove otherwise, to both sides. And we see that. We see it happening. And we talk about it, we laugh about it, or, you black pill about it. But that's the tip of the iceberg, because where I'm going to leave this, and we'll have more combo on it another day, is what's going to happen with AI is so much more than that. You think this is as bad as it gets? Right now, AI is heavily slanted toward a left-leaning bias. It's a fact. It's not made up. It's an objective fact. No matter what they tell you, it is. Why? Because AI, LLMs train off the data available to them. And they train off the most obvious and mainstream data, which means they'll trade off media. They'll train off academic institutions. They'll trade off big public networks of information. If those are heavily weighted to one side, that is what the AI will train off and learn on. In addition, there may be some built-in bias that a lot of the AI founders and came out of, the Seattle, that Northwest area there. They may have a more liberal political perspective and see things that way. But automatically they bias, right? They bias toward the side that is to the left. And they're designed to simply answer questions based on data and give you those answers. So, quick example: I asked an LLM, I asked Gemini about Mandami's wife illustrating the book for the that ended up being for this extreme radical anti-Jew who actually said Jews are cockroaches. Then wasn't in this book, but she illustrated the book for her. Now, their response was she didn't know who she was doing it for. She didn't know the woman's politics. Well, that's bullshit. Of course she did. His wife's a big activist, and this woman's a big activist. They probably are friends. They know each other. They've liked each other's posts, whatever. And both of them like posts about Hamas and October 7th, so whatever. They don't like Jews. Fine, that's what it is. But when I asked the AI whether it made sense that, that she probably did know, even though you can use the argument she was a freelancer or a third party, she would know. She probably did know. It said, well, there's two sides, both are legitimate. On the one hand, she might have known, but it's equally possible she didn't know, and here's why, blah, blah, blah. When I turned it around and said, well, it's probable that she didn't know, it said, you're right, it's probable that she didn't know. And I said, wait, you just told me it was either equal when I asked if it was probable that she did know, the negative view for the left. When I made it the positive view for the left, you're like, you're right. And it said, you're right, you got me, and here's why. Not that I choose to, but I'm leaning toward information I get, and I'm weighted to see conservative things as it's often more likely to create violence or whatever. So that's a whole nother thing. It runs it through like double layers. Because we got the white supremacist thing that the media is just driven home. White supremacist, violence, the domestic terrorism, all that. So here's where this gets scary and where we end it for tonight. The bias is there. There are only two solutions to that bias. One, you create a universal AI. that compensates for all of it. That's not going to happen. We're not going to do that in this country, much less in the world level. Forget it. That even you can ask. You want to do a quick check with Gemini, chat, Claude, say, likelihood of creating a universal AI that eliminates biases. It'll say basically non-existent. Technically, it is theoretically a possibility. The alternative is people who are being left out. The conservatives aren't stupid, and it's half the country, and it's half the world if you want. Know that their AIs are biased against them. They're biased because of the databases they're tapping into, and maybe somewhat because of how they've been set up and programmed. That's an argument you could go back and forth on. The database side, you can't, where they're learning from. Is you will have people create AI systems that learn from a more conservative set of data. And they'll create LLMs. So the way Trump created Truth Social, you'll have a Truth AI. Truth AI tells you the truth, the conservative leaning truth. Well, that's the other solution. Now you'll have two competing sort of systems, for example. There'll be more than two, but one that has trained on a more liberal set of information, one on a more conservative. I'm using those terms broadly. Conservative, liberal. And I mean politically, socially. One will say the conservative truth AI will say biological boys are not girls, and if they go through a transition, they are still biological boys and shouldn't play in biological sports for biological females. Now, to me, that's just basic sense. That shouldn't be left or right, but it is. It's like biological boys shouldn't play in girls' sports. Sports for girls, biological girls. Like we know they're biological girls. That's why we create sports for them. Separate them from biological men. But you're not a man in that sense if you were biologically a man but chose to be a woman. It's absurd. But that side will the conservative truth AI will say that. The other one will say, no, it's not necessarily true. Biologies, there are not just two sexes, there are multiple ones, and science shows that you could be both. And a trans boy a biological boy becoming a trans woman is not biologically a man in that sense anymore. And maybe it's even possible for men to have babies. It'll say all kinds of things. And it will reinforce it with data. And here's where it gets scary. They will both remove things that don't fit in their frames. So certain facts and how things happen in Truth AI will be different than the ones in, I'm just going to say like current ChatGPT or whatever. But there'll be new ones that are like the progressive AI. And they will remove information. They will literally tell two different stories. Charlie Kirk was assassinated in a massive conspiracy by the Jews. Will be one. The other will be as a lone shooter. But more than that, whole events may or may not happen. We're taking 1984, throwing it on steroids. George Orwell would be flip tripping. And when that happens, we will have narratives telling different people, not just what you get reinforced in your feeds on your social. You'll go into your Truth AI and you won't be able to find certain things. Slavery won't be what you thought slavery was. And on the other side, COVID will always be a massive plague that could have killed all of us, and praise the Lord for St. Fauci. Or slavery still exists today. It's just in a million different forms. The 1692 Project or whatever it's called. They'll tell you two different stories and they'll base facts on it and they'll show you the information that reinforces that and the other won't exist. That's the world we're coming to. That's how divisive it's going to get. And that is where one of the only threads, one of the only rails, pun intended, you may be able to ride on safely will be being able to control your digital assets, being able to have blockchain control, wallets, use crypto, have Bitcoin, literally have vaults for your AI. That's for another story, the project I'm part of. But that will be your only salvation. That's a black pill, isn't it, for my black shirt? Yeah, well, take the orange pill. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll be on David's show on Friday. It depends. I think he's just, I think he's having a thing because I outsmarted him last time. We'll see if I go on Friday with him. Otherwise, I'll see you on Monday. Thanks for watching.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.